Hello and welcome to All for United. As you can tell, I was not ready to do this evening, and nor was I wanting to do this evening. I think ultimately, the reflection of my own want and desire for something to work out under a club legend and someone who clearly loves the football club versus the reality of the situation, I think has come to light over the past 4 or 5 weeks, but hit home today in a massive way. And just in case you're joining the show now wondering what's going on, it has more or less been confirmed by many of the reputable journalists out there that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been relieved of his duties from the Manchester United board. I'm going to go into some detail in terms of what we know and what those journalists have been saying, so you guys have a full-rounded approach of everything that's going on online at the moment. Plus, I've had a few DMs from some people I know that you would have seen on the channel in terms of how this all happened today, so I'll read those out for you. But most importantly, we're going to get the reaction from some Reds, some All for United contributors and people who love this football club, because do you know what I'm fed up of seeing already? The I told you so army. The, oh, I called this 5 weeks ago. The, oh, I said this 8 weeks ago. Doesn't help, does it? This day should not be celebrated and this evening should not be celebrated. Yes, we can look forward. Yes, we can hope for better in weeks to come. But this is not an easy show to do, and nor should it ever be. So I'm going to roll the intro. We'll get into some Reds and their reactions, and we'll do more just after this. Stay where you're at. Hit subscribe. Get in the comments if you're watching later on, and definitely get in the live chat. We'll read out some of your thoughts too. Click subscribe to get daily Manchester United content from passionate Reds, only on All for United. So, strangely enough, today it was Duncan Castles who got it right by the looks of things. Shout out to Duncan Castles, who first pushed out the back of a board meeting that I think was widely reported from the Times at 7 o'clock, that Ole will be leaving the club on what will be determined and perceived as mutual consent, it looks like at the moment. Obviously, he didn't want to go. It's not like he went to the board and went, yeah, I agree with you, let's go. Ultimately, the board made the decision off the back of that. Compensation packages have been put together. How that affects the backroom staff, I'm not sure. But the one thing that we do know from Samuel Luckhurst, and the one thing that it's looking likely from Fabrizio Romano's early reports, is that it's looking like Darren Fletcher on an interim with Michael Carrick assisting somewhere, which at this point I don't know whether that's a good idea or not, but something had to change right after today. Importantly on this show, we want to get your reactions, so get in the live chat, share this link. Let's get chatting about the board's decision today. Let's bring in a few people first. Actually, let's bring everyone in. Let's bring everyone in who I've got backstage at the moment. Look at all these beautiful people. They could be brothers from the same family. There's so much beauty on this panel. Look at it. Serge, I haven't seen you in ages. Last time we saw each other, Serge, we were having a drink at a Holiday Inn here in Folkestone, which sounds a lot more suspicious than it actually was. But it was a good time anyway. Look, let me first of all come, because Connor, I know you've got a dash. Let me come to you, mate. The board have made their decision. Ollie's gone.
Yeah, and it's I was half asleep because early start tomorrow, women's game at 12 o'clock tomorrow against Arsenal. So I was half asleep. I wasn't expecting to come on here tonight. I'm in a mix of them. I am genuinely sad because I've never wanted a manager to succeed more. And in hindsight, when we look back on this in a few weeks, it probably will be that we were blinded by supporting the player rather than the manager at times. But to be honest, I don't really care. I love that guy. I tweeted it earlier. The atmosphere at Old Trafford under Ole was completely different to anything that we had under Mourinho and Louis van Gaal. The positivity around the club, obviously, up until recently, it was all going in a good direction. And this season, it's just completely collapsed. People can say last season, yes, we didn't have good games, but you can't fluke your way to second in a cup final. We had good moments. The amount of derby wins, he seemed to have Pep's number. We did well in big games initially. The semi-finals and the finals, we did well, and it seemed to be on the right track. And we had a good track. I tweeted it earlier, first game of the season, I gate crashed Mark's reaction show against Leeds after coming out of Old Trafford. I genuinely thought we were winning everything this year. When we still might win something this year, with a different manager, we still might. But I can't believe how quickly it turned. That's what's depressed me the most. We went from beating Leeds 5-1, signing Varane, signing Ronaldo, all of these Sancho, all these kind of things, and it's just literally like that. It went south so quick after the international break, 2 international breaks ago. After Leicester, Liverpool, and I don't need to talk about those. The one, Ben, you said it in your intro. I'm so sick of already seeing, I told you so. I told you I was right. Honestly, fuck off, because you didn't fucking tell us, because what you were saying before had an agenda behind it. What you're saying this season is correct. What we've seen this year, yes, it has gone to shit. But I'm so sick of Pete. I said this earlier as well on Twitter, that this is a guy's life. Why are people celebrating someone getting sacked? This is a guy with a family, and a United fan and a legend of the club who put his absolute everything, albeit I'm not saying he should have stayed, by the way. I think moving him on was the right thing. But this attitude of, oh, yes, let's have a party, glad he's gone. Let's just remember that he tried his absolute best for this club. And it's in a much better position than when it was when he took it on. It's the toughest job in the world because you're going to get scrutinised more than any other club. So I do feel for him. I do think we said earlier on the reaction show, it's the right decision. He wasn't going to turn this around after I said earlier, it should have been done in the international break, because what I think the board had done, they thought, right, we've got Watford after the internationals, we'll win that. We've lost today, and they've gone, oh shit, now what do? We need to sort this out. And that's why you saw this emergency meeting and, panicking, and now it looking like Fletcher, and it's just a mess. It's an absolute mess. This should have been sorted 2 weeks ago, and it would have saved maybe some of the toxicity. But yeah, it's just a mix of emotions at the moment, isn't it?
So one last question for you, Connor. Do you think the board could have helped him here? Do you think that this decision should have been made earlier, and maybe this mess wouldn't be as, so to speak, monumental as it feels like it is right now? Because I was sat there, and I don't know if I put it in the group chat. I said it to someone. Maybe I tweeted it. I don't know how. Also, just looking at this team, looking at the way we were playing, ultimately it looked so much worse than it feels like it is. I don't know who fixes this at the moment.
Yeah, and the thing is, everyone's like, he should have walked. Well, why should he? He's a United fan in his dream job. He's not going to walk, is he? And I actually respect the fact he's got self-belief in himself to think he could turn it around. Fair play to him for consistent. And this is what I mean when people are going in on him. At least he kept trying. He kept trying as a United manager, and he was never going to walk. It looks like, I say that, it looks like this is a mutual agreement, which is actually what I wanted. I wanted it to be a mutual agreement between the club. But yeah, they 100% could have made this easier. They could have done it after Liverpool. Should have done it after the derby, 100% during the international break, and he would have got But doing it now after like I said, losing to Liverpool 5-0. Awful. Losing to City and Liverpool is bad enough, but then getting embarrassed at Watford, that's just a whole new low point. That is, they could have solved this during the international break when we had time to plan, but no, as ever. And this is what I'll repeatedly say this. Everyone at the moment is saying, oh, the Glazers and the board, we need to keep the fire on them. As soon as we get a new manager, I guarantee it, everyone's going to fucking forget about that. And they'll be like, hey, new manager, let's go. Keep the fire under the feet of the people who made this situation worse. Because I know it will happen. Everyone will be like, we've got a new manager now, it's all great. And everyone who's tweeting Glazers out now, and Woodward and all these kind of people that are up in the boardroom, don't let. We said this after the Super League, and we all forgot, didn't we? But let's not forget, they hung this man out to dry. Really, the players have hung him out to dry as well. I said it earlier. Ollie's tactical nous, or whatever you want to call it, lost us games. The players got us embarrassed, because you can lose games close. We might have lost to Watford today with a different manager, but it wouldn't have been embarrassing like that. And that's my issue with the players. And don't let some of these players off the bloody hook as well, because they have really let him down today. Seeing Ollie having to go over and apologise to the fans while you've got half the squad walking off the pitch and the other half standing 30, 40 metres away. Do me a favour. It's just embarrassing. So, yeah, he's been hung out to dry.
To do that, by the way. After that, to go up to the fans and genuinely hold your hands up and go, do you know what?
He knew, didn't he? I think he knew, didn't he? After... As soon as that full-time whistle, I'm sure he would have had conversations beforehand. He said he was in constant communication. But yeah, let's just not forget these players threw him under the bus again. Mm-hmm. They got us embarrassed. Yeah, we might have still lost. We probably would have under Ollie with the way it's going, but we wouldn't have got embarrassed and we wouldn't feel as bad as we do right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just a shame.
You make a good point. This is all a byproduct of mistakes over a countless number of years. It's as simple as that, and it's rinse and repeat. And so you've just put it in the private chat, actually, I think ultimately we go on Like Mourinho ended up losing his job because of a lack of investment in the summer, which then his own ego made it spiral out of downhill. Don't get me wrong, but that lack of investment that happened in that summer happened the season before Van Gaal, happened under Moyes. Like ultimately, it's a spiral of events that just keep occurring, and you've got to look at the board. I said earlier on, if the board let Ole get away with this, or don't make a change, it's not about Ole getting away with it. Don't make a change. Who's on this board? Who's making these decisions? Who's watching this and going, nothing needs to change? It's baffling. I'm just going to get through a couple of comments. Eric completely spot on with his comment. Fletcher goes on a winning run and the board awarded him an 8-year contract. You just know that that would be typical of them. Jeff is on with us. Hey, Jeff. I know it's early where you are in Manila. Sacked in the morning, literally here. Mark, is he really sucks? I mean, I don't know if he sucks, but I think he's definitely sacked, but we're waiting for official announcement on that. Tom speaking, I think like all of us here, really wanted to see him succeed. Of course we did. Fox's Folks said, I've seen legends and heroes of my club fail, and it's horrible to watch. So as a football fan in general, while it's best for your club, it's a sad moment, 100%, which is why the whole I told you so attitude just doesn't rinse with me. Stu's crying in a corner somewhere. I don't blame you, Stu. That could be me right now. And actually, Jeff makes a really good point here, which we might get onto later on. The irony of all this is the final goal to be scored under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's reign is Donny van de Beek, which is just, it's a little bit crazy. And Maguire sent off in the final game as well. It's all just a little bit mad, isn't it? Mark, I'll come to you in just a second. I just want to quickly say, let me quickly bring you in because I sort of came to you last minute because I wanted to hear your reaction and sort of get a golden nugget from you, so to speak, on this show. You was on a few weeks ago talking about Ole and the future, and I think you said some great things alongside, I believe it was Abdul that day. I just want to get your reaction, mate, because you've always sternly backed Ole as the majority of us have. How are you feeling at the moment reading this news?
Probably disappointed is probably the way you feel. Inevitable. I think of words that kind of come to my head initially. I think it was inevitable that Ole was going to get sacked. I think, or by mutual consent, which is being reported now. It's like it's going to be a mutual decision of whatever. As Connor said, he was never going to just throw in the towel because first, that's not Ole. That's not the United way. And also, you got to also remember he's a businessman as well because there's a lot of money resting, waiting for him if he did get sacked. So if he did get sacked, he would get a golden paycheck to leave. So a manager's never going to just go, right, thanks a lot, guys. Enjoy my time. I'm going to get off now. It's just not going to happen. I think ultimately it's probably the right decision. Obviously, it's definitely the right decision. I think United have been poor, obviously, since the season starts, since after the first game, really. We've never really galvanised any kind of form. We've never really looked like a team. Never really had any kind of coherent play. I think ultimately, Ole also, he did have his favourites in the squad. There was bemusement in not playing Van der Beek. I think he showed today, whilst he did deserve to play, I think we should be dropping the likes of Bruno Fernandes. I don't think he's been playing well anywhere near enough the last few games. People might disagree with me, but today, again, another stinker from Bruno. I think he needs some time on the sidelines and to prove himself like every other player. No player should be guaranteed a spot in Manchester United, including that of Cristiano Ronaldo as well. Everyone has to earn their stripes to play for Manchester United. And I think ultimately United made the right decision. I think the decision should have been made earlier. You look at teams, I think I mentioned last time, United have to be a bit more, we have to be much more decisive in decision making. You look at what Leicester did when they had Ranieri. They won the league, and then the next season, after he won the league, they got rid of him. So it's not odd for clubs to do that. We've got to stop holding on to sentiment, and we need to start running the club as a football club and not just a money making machine. I don't know why I'm having this conversation because ultimately nothing's going to change. We're all discussing Ole being sacked. I guarantee you, we will be here in 12 months' time talking about the next manager that's going to be sacked. I guarantee you. Because firstly, it starts obviously when plays down tool, but you're talking people on social media, everyone's giving up. Everyone's giving up, and it all starts from there, and it all kind of tumbles down from the top, to the fans, and everyone's giving up. Everyone wants a shiny new toy, and then they get bored of the toy and then they throw it out and they want a new shiny toy. And that's ultimately what will happen. until the Glazers get rid of Manchester United and sell Manchester United, and we run the club like a club should be run, like the way Manchester City run their club, like the way Leicester City run their club, we're never going to achieve anything. Like the way Chelsea run their club. Even Roman Abramovich is a football man. He loves football. He invests in the squad. He's not ashamed, not afraid to put money where his mouth is. The problem was people say, we shouldn't have signed Ronaldo this year. Ronaldo's not the issue why we're not winning. I can tell you that for nothing. But it wasn't as if people said we should have signed a midfielder. Well, yes, we should have signed a midfielder, but the choice wasn't Ronaldo or a midfielder. It was Ronaldo or nobody. It was Ronaldo or let him go to City. So we signed Ronaldo to appease the United fans to stop him signing for City. But ultimately now, we're now trying to build a squad around a 36, 37-year-old man instead of building for the future. Should we let him go to City? I don't know. I can't make that decision. People might disagree with me. I can Henry's shaking his head. Okay, maybe not. And obviously, he's got us out of a lot of crap during games and stuff. But if we would have played a different way, played with different players, would we have been in those situations anyway?
I think. Sorry, just quickly. Without him, we would be like relegation zone in the league and out of the Champions League already. Genuinely, he's.
I accept that, but what I'm saying was, if we would have played different personnel or set up with a different shape like we did last season without Ronaldo, could we have won those games easily and not been in that position? I don't know. I'm not blaming Ronaldo for this, and ultimately the players don't look well coached. That's obviously Ollie's remit, but it's rotten from the top to the bottom. And as I said, I'll say it again. We will be here in 12 months' time discussing the sacking of another manager. I guarantee it. I guarantee it.
Yeah, pure passion there, and I'm completely with you on our board, on our ownership, on the structure of the club. You just spot on. I think the interesting conversation around Ronaldo, which it has to be had with the whole team, because you mentioned there about Bruno Fernandes. I watched him ping a delightful 40, 50-yard Scholes-esque pass, right, to the right wing to, I think it was either Sancho or Wan-Bissaka. And then 2 minutes later, he got the ball on the halfway line, went to play a crossfield pass, and got it so wrong, gave away possession. I actually think that's for their third goal, with just a dreadful hospital ball. And it's like, how can you go from 1 minute being so good to just so poor and lackluster and just... it's mad. And with Ronaldo, I think the interesting conversation around Ronaldo is, and I think this is where Ollie has got it wrong. As a manager, you've got to adapt to the tools you have. And I don't think he's ever done that this season. I think he's tried to play a way that he's always played with personnel that don't actually suit the system, and that being Ronaldo. And also, by the way, I'd say that he's also got it wrong with Sancho. I don't think Sancho suits his old system, the counter-attacking football that he wanted to play. I think Sancho, very much like we saw today, is a player that likes to have a little bit of time on the ball, but when given the time and given the opportunity, he can pick out a delightful cross. He can take a man on, but he has to feed his way into a game. So I think it's really, really odd. I think signings have been odd. I think the way we've played has been odd. The way players have down tools has been odd. It's just it's a weird situation, which, like I said earlier on, after watching the Watford game, I don't know who fixes this. That's what's weird. Eddie said, Serge has made me cry some more. Well, looking at him is quite difficult sometimes, but there's no need to... No. And there's also a great comment here from Eric who says, all for beards. I mean, I don't want to judge everyone else's, but mine is definitely the best. It's the most in shape at the moment. Man United Analytics says, a good manager would be successful with his team. Well, let's hope, mate. Hammer doesn't like all the beards here. Why? What's wrong with the beards? Come on, man. Come on, look at this. It's like a panel of Mr. Steal Your Girls. Look at this. Look. It's great.
Anti-beard. Anti-beard.
It'll be an anti-beard. And Benny, if you're around, I'd love you to come on, mate. I know this is going to be cutting you deep, and I know that this is going to be the last thing you want to do. But to have 5 minutes of you summing up this situation would be a dream come true, mate. Fathers and Son United. Benny's put, he'd always be my Solskjaer. This hurts. He was in the away end today as well. And John says, Oddie is a problem, but not the main problem. Until we're rid of the owners, not much will change. I don't have any faith in the club and team long term. Yes, he has to go, but what next? I think that's also hitting on what Serge just said a minute ago. If you just joined us right now, Fabrizio Romano, Dunkel Castles, now the Times, Samuel Luckhurst, and I think Sky Sports have fashionably late to the party, just jumps on the train as well. The board today or this evening have decided that enough is enough, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will be leaving the club by mutual consent. Official announcement probably within the next 12 hours, but we will wait and see when that comes. Mark, I know you've got to go soon. By the way, Connor, I know that you said you can only stick around for a bit, but if you can stay, mate, feel free to stay, and I'll come back to you in a minute with some bits once I've been around everyone. But Mark, what's your reaction to the news? You've done the match reaction show today. We thought you were the issue doing the match reaction shows, and that's why we were losing. But clearly, there's something more to it. So what do you make of the news?
Yeah, thanks, mate. And I'm pleased it's not me. Yeah, it's a really sad day. Really sad day. This one has cut deep, and United are run so poorly, and I know you've all highlighted that, but we seem to change our way of thinking every time this new toy comes along and think, oh, okay, we're on a good run now. We can perform. We can do this. I'm enjoying this, and then we seem to hit the same issues again and again, and unfortunately, that is going to be the same vicious cycle for many years until the Glazers go. And I know you've already mentioned this, but yeah, it's a tough day, really tough. I've stuck behind him since day one, and I know his frailties, I know his sort of negatives, but he's brought so much to the club, and the amount of things I see on Twitter, it's just a horrible place, and it's just not nice to see. These people don't appreciate what it is that he has done. What it is that he has brought to the team. It's not just that 99 final goal. He was an incredible player for us, and he absolutely lives and breathes the club. And you know what? I saw a clip today, Connor retweeted it, of him talking about sorry for smiling. That was disgusting. It was really tough to watch, and that was all because he's probably seen people talking about the fact that he shouldn't be smiling at certain points. Fucking hell, you want someone to smile. You want someone to be positive. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, we're all going to get amongst it and feel negative all the time. And it was just really painful. And listen, I know it's the right decision. I know that he's done wonders behind the scenes, and he's taken us from A to B. But he probably hasn't got the nous. No, he definitely hasn't got the nous to take us from B to C. And the time has come, unfortunately. I just wish it hadn't been under these circumstances.
Mark, can I just say something? You've hit a nail on the point, which really kind of resonated. You said he's not done, all bad, and I think, I think people will hone in on the fact that obviously we're in this bad period as a club, but Ole's done a hell of a lot of good for Manchester United. He's rid of a lot of the crap that we had. He's built a fantastic squad. We have the best squad since Fergie. I don't think anyone can doubt that. Really, we do. We're probably one or two players off really seriously. I mean, we should have seriously challenged this year, but seriously challenging in the centre mid and the striker. But ultimately, he's done a lot of good, and you just don't want that to overshadow this period of time, which I really hope it doesn't. People remember him for the great work that he has done. And by the way, it is all sounding a bit morbid, like Ole's died, but he's not died. He's still alive, just so you all know.
What's this all about, Serge?
I don't know.
But she's missing. What's?
It's a pal of mine. Don't worry.
Well, can you make sure that he gets in the live chat more often, giving us a super chat there? We'd love that. We'd have to get you on more often.
What did he do? Did he give you some money?
He did. He gave me some money. It's even worth having you on now. I was in negative dividends when I asked you to come on.
He's actually my cousin.
Is he? Oh, shout out to your cousin. What a guy. Guy, yeah, guy. Don't want to mess that up. Oh, I mean, yeah, you guys are completely spot on. Let me come over to Bainesy quickly. Bainesy, what are your thoughts and feelings?
Sad, actually, to be honest. Ollie's one of us. He still remain in my eyes. I don't know about anyone else in the comments or the panel, but in my eyes, he's still a huge United legend. Always will be. I mean, the majority of the fan base that you see on social media weren't even born for his apparently his tap in. Look, it's not the birthday present I wanted. I just wanted Watford. I wanted us to sweep past Watford and we go to Chelsea and try and get a result. I always look at positive things. I always look at the positive of United, but it was hard to pick it out today. I didn't watch the game, but from obviously from the WhatsApp chats that we were all having, and it just didn't look good. I'm not happy, but I don't know if I can look at any positives because again, we're in this rotten cycle of managers coming in, trying to be successful. They split the fan base. You know, the loudest fans on social media or however you want to say it, that it's always going to be a split opinion. It happened with okay, David Moyes weren't there long enough really to understand, but it happened with Louis van Gaal. It certainly happened with Mourinho. There was a big divide, and now it's happened with Ole. So it's just this rotten cycle where the board they seem to be running on like emotions. When Ole came in as interim, okay, yeah, look, he went on this amazing 18-game run or whatever it was. It was unbelievable, and everyone was bouncing. And as Connor mentioned, that the feel factor at Old Trafford just completely changed. And then he was given the job, even though Pochettino was available at that time. Now, do you blame Ole for that? No, not really. You can't blame Ole for that. He did what he wanted to do. You know, he came in, he went on this huge run, and he started to rebuild the squad and the structure of the club. As for who comes next, honestly, no idea. Laurie Whitwell, for the people in the comments or maybe in the panel who don't know who Laurie Whitwell is, he works for The Athletic. He writes for The Athletic, and he's really clued in with Man United, and he's quite. I see him as one of the top guys to look at when it comes to sources, and he's saying that that the reports are suggesting that Zinedine Zidane could be the replacement. However, the board are also looking at. Now I'm going to butcher his name here. Is it Lopetegui from? Is he Sevilla? Yeah. Sorry, yeah. Thanks, Henry. So is he from Sevilla? Isn't he? He's a Sevilla manager. So
yeah.
Look, and this was the same guy that was at Madrid, wasn't it? And he absolutely
He's not a good manager.
No, yeah, he flopped at Madrid as well. So I don't know. Apparently, the board are looking at him. They're also looking at Laurent Blanc, and I think I'm not sure I'm right about this, but I think Laurent Blanc wanted the job or interim job straight after Jose.
Please not.
He's not been in a managerial role for about 9 years, Laurent Blanc. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like people talk about Ralph Ragniak. Like he hasn't been in a managerial job for 6 years now.
I trust Ralph Ragniak a lot more because he was the teacher of a lot of the German coaches.
Yeah, too cool on top, wasn't it?
He's the one that he didn't invent the high press, but he's the one that implemented it into the Bundesliga.
Well, look, can we come back to talking about managers, because I want to kind of keep this show around Solskjaer and just raw reaction to how we're feeling and where we're at. I mean, it's valid points you're bringing up there, Bainesy. I mean, let's not get Serge started on Zidane.
Or Blanc, please not Blanc. George Graham.
It is a tough one, and I think that's where I come back to again what I said at the start of the show. Who fixes this? Where do we go next? I don't know, because even then, like again, going against what I just said, you know, we're looking at one of the names that was mentioned was Brendan Rodgers, and although I do think that he's a good manager, that's the only side to concede more than us so far in the league this season is Leicester and Norwich. Which isn't going to improve us defensively, is it, potentially? But they've had their own defensive issues, so I suppose you can't really look at that. It's quite skewed, that statistic, in some ways. But guys, if you're watching right now, there's plenty of debates to be had around Manchester United over the next couple of weeks, so make sure you join in with them. The only way you can do so is by hitting subscribe to the channel and switching on those notifications. It's a shit time. I feel bad sort of sat here going, hey, hit subscribe to us, help us out, get more people on our videos. But look, we do like having an open debate about a lot of things to do with United. So if you want to join in with that, if you want to have your thoughts heard, hit that subscribe button and get involved in the live chat. Simon Lawrence, Avram Grant seen at Manchester Airport. Please don't say that. I have just tweeted out a picture from All for United. The United squad have only just arrived back in Manchester. So it looks like this decision was made whilst the team and Ole were mid-air, which is quite interesting. I suppose we'll be hearing more about that soon. Let me just quickly go into here. Matt says Ronaldo might put managers off. His ego would be hard to manage. I think if you're a manager in football, you want to manage the best players, right? Who wouldn't want to have Cristiano Ronaldo in your team? Go on, Sergio, you're going to say something?
No, I agree with you. I mean, every manager wants to play with the best players, and that's what the best do. Manchester United is the hardest job in the world.
Mm-hmm. Fred Woodward, I have zero faith in the board to make the right appointment. Tyler Prell says, thank you, Ollie. 20 legend. Yes, 100%. And I've got one more here. Where's it gone that I saw here? Jamie says he needed to go, but it does make me sad. You're my Solskjaer, my only Solskjaer. And we're getting more and more comments like this, guys. Thank you so much for being sensible. Henry, we've heard from you a couple of times, but I've not yet asked you the question. How are you feeling about all this?
Very mixed emotions, obviously. I would argue that it's kind of relief more than anything at the moment, where if this went on any longer, I think it would have become a lot more painful for the fan base and a lot more painful for, for not even for the board, just for the players and for the people that are part of the team. It would have become a lot worse. And obviously you could see today that the players weren't really playing for the manager. They weren't really running hard enough. And as soon as that happens, then the writing's on the wall. Because top players can down tools and sometimes get away with it because they got the quality. But some of the players that were starting in that team are not necessarily the best players, and when they start to struggle, you really notice. And when they start to lack belief in the manager, you really notice. So so complete mixed emotions, really. It's difficult, of course it is, because it's an ex-player. And by the way, an ex-player as a manager, again, I don't want to ever see it again. I just don't want to, because it puts the fans in such a difficult position where you feel not
Get
obliged.
ready for Darren Fletcher, Henry, as interim manager.
This is the thing. If it's on an interim basis, I think we can deal with that a little bit more, but we need a manager. With Mourinho and Van Gaal, when we parted ways with both of those, it was a lot easier because it was an objective decision and there wasn't as much emotion involved. It was based on results. That's it. Whereas with Solskjaer, it's someone who's been such a big part of United's history, and having to relieve some of their duties that the fans genuinely do love is very difficult. I'm not sure it's as difficult for the owners because they're businessmen. They do it for the money, and I bet sponsors and etc. will have been right up their arse saying, you got this super team. We want you to be promoting the brand to the best of your ability and winning trophies and competing up at the top. And that wasn't happening. So they'll have made a business decision. It wouldn't have been based on results. I can guarantee that. It would have been on. There was a 2% dive in the share price today. 2% is that's tens of millions for these guys. So they don't really care about the personality or whatever. They just care about business. But it's tough for fans. It really is. It's difficult. But
I think they do care about personality. I do.
Do you reckon?
And the reason why I say this is because I feel that they made a mistake with Mourinho. I'm not saying he was a mistake, but I think from their personal point of view, he was a mistake. And it came out the other week that Conte would be another one of those mistakes. Unfortunately, if you're going to get someone in that's going to manage the team, not just on a personal level, but really instill that winning mentality, you need someone with charisma and someone that is going to be very assertive and will tell them exactly, where to go, right? And with that, unfortunately, you get someone with that personality that's going to be challenging to everybody and to the Glazers.
Yeah.
So I do think that they are now looking at people like Ollie, who really was a puppet master. Yeah, yes man, right? And I do think that this could really have an effect on the next appointment. And then we'll be here, as Serge said, 1, 2, 3 years' time.
I get what you're saying, but I was leaning towards the more, in terms of personality wise, I was leaning towards it's not a difficult decision for the owners to get rid of a manager. It's not. They won't have been sat there. I know they were mulling over doing it, and I bet you it's not because of who Solskjaer is as a person. It's because of the compensation package they've got to pay him, which is looking upwards of 7.5 million. That's a lot of money. And he's just signed a new contract. So they would have been clinging on for dear life in the hope that this would work. So they didn't have to pay out and they didn't have to cost themselves. And embarrassed themselves. They embarrassed themselves, Mourinho, when they gave him a new contract. And the owners and the board have yet again, they've embarrassed themselves. They've given a manager a new contract and it hasn't worked out. So,
Henry, you mentioned with regards to embarrassment of the board, and I think people people see football clubs as football manager, and they think the only thing that the board are meant to do is give money. And you go to the board, you receive money, and then you have to do something with the money. There's much more to.
I know, yeah.
This isn't aimed at you, by the way. This is just aimed at fans. People think that football club is run by owners and they just give money and that's it. That's not how it works. The owners build the structure of a club. They build the structure of how the business is run from top to the bottom. Mm-hmm. United is still run very, very old-fashioned in terms of football clubs. You know, with the owners at the top and the manager at the bottom. And that's how it is. And there's nothing kind of in between. There's no modern way of set up that Manchester United are running. Look at Leicester, as I said. Look at Liverpool. Look at City. You know, these clubs, they take an interest in the club. They take an interest in the city. They take an interest in the people that live in the city. They build in the city. You know, they immerse themselves in the culture of the club and what the club stands for. You know, and we have nothing like that. We just think that owners give money and Manchester United manager spends the money and then equals success. And that's just not how it works.
Yeah, this is exactly what we said the other day with Roy Kavanagh on a show in terms of Manchester United not just being a hot property on the pitch, but being the hottest property in town. Like Manchester is Manchester United. That's why it means so much to so many fans when you hear Ronaldo just talk about Manchester United as Manchester. Because ultimately, back in the day as well, a big part of this as well, and we talk about the commercial element of it and the investment in facilities and different other things, which is, by the way, really important because you've got City down the road hosting every single big concert that comes to Manchester. Old Trafford doesn't even get a look in anymore. Doesn't get a look in. It's got the capacity, but doesn't even get a look in. That doesn't matter to us, but that's massive for the commercial side of the business. That's massive for the club. It goes to show the underinvestment and how these owners treat it. Just quickly, guys, by the way, just some breaking news that we're seeing online at the moment. Again, loads of stuff coming out right now. But Fabrizio Romano has just tweeted that Mike Phelan will go with Ole. So it's looking like at least one of Ole's coaching staff is definitely going to go, and it looks like Phelan is going to end his second spell at the club as well, which I don't think is surprising, but we'll get some more reaction to that in just a minute. Let me quickly bring in, and I know the panel's getting big, so we will go around everyone. And by the way, the only reason why I'm not now hitting on like favourite moments under Ole is because I think that should come on the show when it's actually officially announced. And we can actually sit back and reflect. Right now, I just want to react to the news that everyone's posted online. First of all, Benny, how you doing, mate? You've had a torrid day at Carrow Road, didn't you?
Carrow Road, mate. I didn't go to Norwich.
Yeah, I was going to say Vicarage Road.
Vicarage Road. No, Vicarage Road, pal. Carrow Road's the other one.
No more grounds, eh? What a football presenter I am. Benny, first of all, with that atmosphere today in the away end, was this inevitable? And secondly, how are you feeling?
Well, if I can say how I'm feeling first and foremost, mate, I'll get onto the atmosphere in a second. I'm just gutted, mate. I'm hurt, man. I love Solskjaer with every fibre of my body, man. The guy gave me the greatest night of my life in '99. I've had a son, I've gone on and done things that I've always wanted to do in my life, but still, 1999 was always going to be that night in Barcelona. It was always going to be the greatest night of my life. A lot of young people might say, "Oh, he just got a toe poke." I think you mentioned it earlier on. He's got to tap in. What does it matter? It matters to a lot of us. It was my first ever European final. 91. I was a bit too young. I was only born in '87, so I don't remember the '91 Cup Winners' Cup. But '99 was my first proper real European Cup final experience, and man, what a night, Barcelona. But the atmosphere started off really, really well. It was loud. The away end, people that go to away matches will tell you it's always very, very loud, very, very boisterous, always behind the team, always behind the manager. Rendition of 12 cantonades. I know it's quite early, but we like to do it as soon as we can. Started spinning around. Everybody was buzzing, ready for the game. And as the game grew on, mate, we could tell that as the tide is turning and the match going fans, they're getting fed up. It's like, well, what's plan B, Ollie? You know, what we do to rectify situations, the same problems again. Why are they running through our defence and stuff like that? And then basically get to the end of the match, and I'm glad that you asked me, Ben, because I usually film at the end of the match. I didn't film it this time, unfortunately, and I should have done actually the reactions, because it's the first time. I mean, Leicester was probably the first time where I felt it turn a little bit when I saw people just disappear. Usually, everybody stays at the way and clap the team off. You know, win, lose, draw. Doesn't matter. We're always behind the team. And Leicester was the very first sign of things maybe not going to plan, and match going fans getting a bit irate with Ollie a little bit. This one wasn't as much of a mass exodus, but certainly there were the ties turning on the players and the manager. A lot of the fans were frustrated at players. Well, things were wrong, me in my opinion. Things were getting thrown at players as well from the crowd. Diego Dalot had to dodge. I think it was a lighter or something that got thrown at him.
From United fans, United fans.
United fans, yeah.
Can I also quickly ask Benny on that? Whilst you elaborate on that, can you also let me know what you saw in terms of what Bruno Fernandes was saying to the crowd? Because we've seen videos, but I don't know if you actually saw him in person, sort of.
Yeah, he was right in front of me, mate. On the Bruno Fernandes thing, they all came. First and foremost, what I will want to say about it is how disgusted I am that half the team went down the tunnel in the first place, and Ronaldo being one of them. He did exactly the same at Leicester as well. He was the first one down the tunnel. Coming front up to the away fans, you know, we've travelled spent a lot of money travelling so many miles. I've done a 400-mile round trip, you know, just to Manchester to London, Manchester, you know. Just come in front with the fans, give us a little clap, you know. We all know that you're disappointed. We all know that you're pissed off. We're just as disappointed and pissed off as the players are. But come in front up. But I saw Sancho go down after him, Matic go down after him, straight down the tunnel, not even bothering to come across. Jesse Lingard, he'd been slagged off to fuck over the last day, because he reposted something from West Ham, which celebrated a year because he scored his first goal for West Ham. I don't see an issue with it, but at least the guy comes across, gives a little clap, you know, and in that, Ollie, he did exactly the same at Leicester as well, when was Leicester away, and a shocking performance then. He's the one that comes the closest to, you know, fair play to Ollie for this. He did exactly the same at Leicester. He comes up, with hands up, I'm sorry, you know, trying to apologise. Leicester, it was a lot more of a clap. Yeah, Ollie, we get it, mate, you know. But this time it properly turned, and I saw it properly turn. People like saying Solskjaer is not good enough. You need to go. People like telling the players to fuck off the pitch, you know. And then what happened was, I think Bruno was involved because obviously he took the captain's armband off Harry Maguire when Maguire got sent off. So he was one of them that came across with Jesse, and he sort of started backing away. And then obviously Ollie made his way through. And as Ollie made his way through, I think Bruno just turned his head and saw it was getting a bit, you know, was hearing the boos and hearing the maybe the heckles and the abuse that Ollie was getting. And Bruno wasn't, you know what Bruno's like, he's a very passionate guy. And he came straight up, level with Solskjaer, and he started throwing his arms around like saying, don't blame him. First it was he's wagging his finger. He's like, no, don't blame the manager, blame us. Like, as the players, he started, and he did it for 30 seconds. You know, he was doing this sort of motion to say, blame us players, don't blame the manager. And it was getting quite heated towards Bruno as well. People like just tell him to get the fuck off the pitch. You're an absolute disgrace. None of you deserve to wear the shirt, you know. And I think things have been bubbling over. I think certainly from Leicester, I would say, as an away. I've only missed Tottenham away, and obviously United won that game. But this season in away match, I've only missed Tottenham because I couldn't get a ticket. But
Maybe you should stop going to games, Ben. We might win a game.
Yeah,
That's what it is, I think, isn't it?
Really not to stop posting post-match shows, and hopefully good times will come back. Benny, can I just hold you there 1 second? I want to come back and hear more from you. There's loads you watching right now. Hit that subscribe button. This is what we do. We tackle United talking points and we get you guys involved. Ben Josh has just shared this comment. I'm honestly gutted. I'm an 18-year-old Manchester United fan, so I experienced the end of Sir Alex Ferguson, but I became obsessed with United under Ole. The first project I believed in. I wish him all the best. And I think, do you know what, Ben? You summed it up for me there. I fell in love with this United team harder than any. I would say probably post 2008. I love this United team that much, and I was gutted. And we love football for romance. I'll say this over again. I was invested. I was in love with this side. The romance with Oli, Ronaldo, Bruno Fernandes. Like, there's just so much to love about this side, which didn't work out. Matt says, Jose is a clever man. He never sold his London house. He stayed in a hotel paid by United in Manchester and is renting in Rome. He knows the modern game is short term. I think that's because someone put a comment saying, let me just have a look if I can find it. Yeah, it was Matt again. It shows the day of Fergie's or Arsene Wenger last 20 years are over. Oh, Benny's disappeared. Hopefully he'll come back in a second. And let me just quickly jump on a couple more comments here before I get some final words from Mark and Serge, because I know you two need to bounce. Gary Neville is next coach from Bruce. And Paul Andrews says, respect to Ollie, I wish he could have turned it round, but the players should be ashamed. And I think Benny's just hit on that as well about the players. We'll get more reaction from Benny on the away end in just a second, and some more thoughts from Benny. Serge, quickly, mate, is there, have your final say on this? What does the future look like? And in terms of Ollie going now, I mean, ultimately, look, he's been a bad end to his managerial reign, but this is a club legend, right?
Absolutely. It's as I said, it's a real shame. It's sad. It was inevitable. There's so many words that you can use to describe the last few days, the last few weeks under Ollie. Ultimately, it's the right decision that he has to go. But as I said, we'll be here in 12 months' time to discuss the next manager that we need to get rid of, because football in the modern era is all about shiny toys. You don't like it, you get rid of it, you get something else new in. You don't like it, get something else new in. And it's just rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. As someone said, the days of Fergie and Wenger of 20 years is gone. Look at Chelsea; they do it all the time. Manager doesn't work; they get rid of somebody else and bring in the next guy. It happens all the time. And the quicker United fans get rid of this romanticism with managers going to be there forever, the better it'll be. Because Pep Guardiola is going to leave City next season, and they'll be in the same arena of hiring and firing managers as they come and go.
Thank you, mate. Appreciate you coming on late tonight. We'll see you again soon, hopefully.
God bless everyone.
Better times, I hope. Take care, mate. Thank you. And Mark, just quickly before I go over to Connor and go back to Benny, your final thoughts. You were in the thick of it on the post-match reaction show. Held it together brilliantly, by the way. If you want to get Watford reaction, go check it out on our channel now. It's a great show. A lot of hurt, really. And I suppose after a defeat like that, you hurt, but then all of a sudden this happens and it just hurts even more. Hurts a heck of a lot more.
Yeah, the realism sets in, I think. It's Serge was right. We've become too invested in that winning mentality again, and rightly so, obviously. But we've been so blessed over the years, and with manager longevity, winning ways, it's just not going to get to that ever again. And we've been very, very fortunate. But then when you take on somebody like Ollie, who would have done absolutely anything for the club, it is really painful. And it's really sad to see. And the comment you brought up earlier really epitomised it. You're absolutely right. And it's good to see that people are nice and that way inclined. And that's how it should be. And I really hope that the amount of people that make noise, for criticisms are just as loud in respect to him when he leaves, because it's difficult, isn't it? But ultimately, it's the board. It will happen again. Ferguson in the last few years with the Glazers, there wasn't really any investment. The team was poor, really, since 2008, and he made them look good. so we've only been sort of triggered by this since he's left, and that's going to continue to happen. So you need to point any dislike or distaste or anything like that towards them. But yeah, terrible day, really sad, very emotional, and I do honestly wish him all the best. I think he's a wonderful man that's brought so many great things to the club, and yeah, people need to realise that.
Cheers, Mark. Go and have some rest. We're going to stay live for about 20 more minutes. We're going to get Bainesy and Henry in on some more comments as well. Do you know what, Mark just made me realise something. Do you know, earlier on we were talking about Ronaldo, and I mentioned about moulding your team around your players. That's what Fergie did with great strikers. Ruud van Nistelrooy, when he first came into the club, you wouldn't say Ruud van Nistelrooy is like that energetic striker that Fergie really loved in terms of having that York and Cole partnership. You know, Tevez, Rooney, like those are the strikers that Fergie used to love. But when you've got the opportunity to have elite goal scorers in your team, you set up your team around those elite goal scorers. And Berbatov's another one, yeah. Great shout. Berbatov is a brilliant shout. You know, and you do it, and then that's how you win titles. That's how you win football games, by scoring more goals than the opposition, by making sure that they're the guys to put the ball in the back of the net. And I think it was telling today that for the first time in a game, in I don't know how long, Ronaldo had about 6 shots on goal. I haven't seen that in ages. He was getting the odd one.
It brings though. Ronaldo just brings that, doesn't he? You just give me the ball, I'll shoot and see what happens.
Exactly, but you've got to provide him with the chances. You've got to allow him to miss. You've got to do these things, and I think ultimately all strikers miss, all strikers score. You've got to mould your team around players like that. I'm going to come back to you, Connor, because I know you want to set Benny up to steal the show. So I'll come over to you in just a second. John just reaffirming what we said earlier on. Fabrizio Romano has confirmed that Mike Phelan will be leaving with Ollie. I will talk about this with you guys in a second. I think the whole coaching setup's got to go. But we'll wait and see, because there's rumours of Fletcher and Carrick on an interim. We're not going to have a new manager debate right now. I think we're expecting an official announcement at some point tomorrow, which then we'll talk more about Ollie, favourite moments under him, and reflect a bit more on Ollie's time. And then in the evening, I think we're going to do a new manager debate tomorrow night. So we'll talk about Mancini, we'll chat about Ten Hag, we'll chat about whoever you want us to talk about. You get in the live chat, we'll talk about those managers and provide some value for you guys. Kadang says from Indonesia, obviously Ollie out, but sending his prayers. Obviously, it's a tough time. See if we've got anything else in here for me to hit on. Viva RRQ is probably a City fan right now, which, by the way, sad state of affairs hearing that Liverpool and Arsenal crowd all as one. It's the loudest I've ever heard Anfield when they were singing Ollie's at the wheel today during that game, which I think says a lot. Bainesy's got in a live chat about the beard game. I think Benny wins it now, though, which is
definitely. I was going to say, rocking that superb beard there, Benny. Well done.
Thank you, mate. Thank you.
And Vipal said, whoever's the next coach needs to figure out what to do with Ronaldo. I think we've just hit on this, though. Either play hardworking players around him or drop him. He's sent out, balance out. I think you've got to play him, but you're right. You've got to mould the team around him. You don't have a player like Ronaldo and not do that. And I think us as United fans, we're not adverted to that. If that's your style, that's how you're going to go about it. They'll see it. I think the issue is we're not seeing anything on the pitch at the moment, are we? Which is part of the problem. Connor, let me come over to you then, mate. What did you want to get on?
Yeah. And one of the reasons I want to go to Benny on this, because I know that Benny goes to a lot of the, and it's obviously this is an initial reaction to Ollie, right? And one of the things I wanted to bring up, and this is something that people don't see. And obviously, people might not care. And to be honest, I'm going to bring this up anyway. But Ollie's involvement around the club, with the women's side, with the 23s, and with the under 18s. He goes to most academy games, supporting the team, speaking to the players' families, making sure, how their development's going. He knows everybody by name. His daughter's obviously involved in the women's setup. He goes to women's games, supports the women's team as well, trying to promote that as well. So his relationship with everyone around the club has been brilliant for the club as well. And whoever we do get next, I hope they're not going to have the same level as maybe Ollie, because maybe not a fan of the club, so to speak. They're there to do a job, but people really overlook the impact Ollie's had at the club in general. And when people talk about the change in the culture, this is what we mean. Like I said, talking there, the women's team and the academy. Like I said, knowing everyone by name, people really underestimate that. And me and Benny have done some good shows with Tony, obviously Mr. Emmy Jack on Twitter, talking about what it was like under Jose and Van Gaal for the academy players. They didn't want to be there. They were told by Mourinho, "You're not going to play." Whereas Ollie comes in, speaks to the families, makes, how's their development going, make sure they've got a good career path. So, yeah, I just wanted to hear Benny's kind of thoughts on that, because obviously I know, with myself, follow the academy and the women's team very well as well. And obviously, Benny, you've been around the women's team since the start, and Ollie's kind of involvement in that as well.
Yeah, this is the big thing. This is what I was going to say. Well, I was going to say later on, but I'm glad you've got to it, Connor, first. Ollie's involvement, it drills a lot deeper than most people realise and most people think. Because under Mourinho, as we've heard from previous shows, as you've mentioned from Tony, that it from Tony Parks, it's been under Mourinho, it kept quite volatile. It was like he didn't want to know. He didn't want to know the youth setup. He didn't want to know people's families. He didn't really care for it too much. And I think under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he sort of brought back the Sir Alex Ferguson way of doing things. Getting to know the families, knowing the families by name. Knowing the parents by names. Always respecting the lady that works in the canteen. Of course, it's the same lady that's worked in the canteen when Solskjaer were a player. But the cooks, the people that wash the kits, everybody gets treated as one big team. As everybody gets treated as a special individual. That you are unique to this football club. We cannot run without you. And Solskjaer would always be pictured as well. After he's done his first team training sessions, it'd also be pictured sort of maybe sat on the sideline or stood up against the fence on the sideline at Carrington, watching the youth teams playing, the under-18s, the under-16s, the 21s, the 23s. And as well as you pointed out, he has got his daughter that plays for the United's development side, or the under-21s, whichever way you want to call it, the devs. So he's always at women's games as well, cheering on his daughter. But he also takes an added interest. He was the first one to reach out to Matt Skinner. We'll have a chat. I'll welcome you to the club. I'll show you around Carrington and this and that. And Matt Skinner came out and said, I didn't expect that. And he didn't have to do that. Didn't expect that of him. But it was great that we're all integrated as one. We're all part of one big family. And that's what Solskjaer has brought back to Manchester United, that feeling of a family that was always under Sir Matt Busby. That was always his feeling for Manchester United. We are a family. We're a family club. We look after the wives, the kids, as well as the players. We're as one. And under Mourinho and under Van Gaal, that sort of disappeared, quite a lot. And I think it might even started way back under Moyes as well. Things started changing in the backgrounds a little bit, which unsettled quite a lot of the players. But it was so good that Ollie brought that back, that sense of unity, and that sense of us against the world again, basically. We're one big family. If somebody has a problem, we will deal with it as one. I'm not going to hang out individual like Jose might have done for Luke Shaw, for example, hung him out to dry in the press. Ollie will take the blame himself, He's not going to go out there and blame players and blame individuals for that. He backed Harry Maguire. He keeps on backing Harry Maguire, even though Harry Maguire's probably said things he shouldn't have done in maybe press conferences, And today, I think I blew my lid with Harry Maguire for the way he chucked his captain's armband at Bruno. Even Bruno was shocked. Bruno was like that, going, "What are you doing?" But he certainly needs to just calm himself down a little bit, Harry Maguire, and think about things as well, because he definitely lost his head today. But Ollie's one of us. We forget that as well. I know I keep drawing on a little bit now, but Ollie's one of us. We forget that. Is he a United man? Is he United? He loves the club. From top to bottom. If you cut him, he bleeds Manchester United. He bleeds Manchester United red. Yes, people might say, well, we all bleed red, Ben, but he does though. He bleeds that Manchester United DNA. And the fact is with Ollie, it was always good. I've always said this. It doesn't matter whether it was in his interim stage or whether it was further down the line as permanent first team manager. He was always going to be the fall guy. At some point, he was always going to be that fall guy, unfortunately. And that's why the Glazers had nothing to lose by bringing him in. as interim in the first place. They knew if, bringing him in, they had nothing to lose because this guy's going to be their fall guy. And then the thing is that people hammer at Ollie, but let's be fair. Why we're not hammering the same sort of frustration at someone like Ed Woodward, who I class as the specialist of failure, an absolute specialist. He's hired and sacked managers left, right, and centre. They're all his appointments, with maybe the exception of Moyes, because we know that Alex Ferguson sort of picked him. But Van Gaal, Mourinho, and Solskjaer, the three of his appointments have not worked, and yet he's still in a job. And yet I know that he's supposed to be stepping down. I know he's supposed to be stepping down, but apparently they still want him as an advisory role, so he's still going to be there hanging around like a bad smell.
Baffle him. Let's give him a vote. Let's get him involved. I just bonkers.
But if I can just finish on Solskjaer and then I'll let other people speak. Sorry, I know I've hogged the limelight a little bit. It hasn't worked. Ultimately, obviously, it hasn't worked, and and a lot of match-going fans have slightly turned. But they're not turned on Ollie because they hate Ollie. They've turned on Ollie because of the frustration. We know how this team can play, and we've seen it before. And I think it's took us as far. A lot of match-going fans are now saying, "Look, listen, Ollie, you steadied the ship. You've got rid of a lot of deadwood. You brought in some fantastic players. You have turned. We were sinking for an absolute mud hole, and we were sinking very, very fast. Solskjaer came in. He steadied the ship. He's putting us in the right direction." But unfortunately, he's taken us to his ceiling now. We all said, if you get us challenging somewhere for trophies, great. Can he take us to the next step to winning trophies? If he can't, then let's bring somebody in that can. Why not, instead of booting on him completely out, this guy should be someone that we're looking at director of football. I'm not being funny. Why not? People might say, we've got John Merton, we've got Darren Fletcher, but you look at who Ollie's brought in as a manager and who's identified as players are the right sort of players for Manchester United. Yes, it's not working out at the minute. He's not getting the fine-tuning out of the players. But listen, Rafael Varane and Cristiano Ronaldo, Bruno Fernandes are all brilliant types of players, all Manchester United football players. And he's brought them in. And we need to respect him for that. And I think he should have been maybe said, maybe they could have gone, Ollie, listen, we know it's not been working out. Maybe if you want to take a role above it, if that's what you want to do, or you might want to choose to go back to Norway with his family or whatever he may want to do. But the thing that really upsets me the most is that his name's been dragged through the mud by a lot of people that have... I don't want to go on about other channels, man, but, we all know what I'm on about. He's been dragged through mud, and I don't like to see that. Do you know what? He goes, right? I know it's been a tough time. I know we've had losses, and it's been a tough couple of months, but he goes with my absolute respect. He goes with my thanks. From the bottom of my heart, thank you, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, man. You are an absolute legend. And before I'll end it on this, the group around me, we was all talking in the match. The guy's name will still be sung because we said if he got sacked today, it will get sung at Villarreal and it gets sung at Chelsea away, and it'll get sung at the next home game. His name will still get sung. You are an absolute legend, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Do never forget that. No matter what's happened in the last couple of months, forget it, mate. It's done. We put it behind us. But you are still a legend. Don't think that it's tarnished your legendary status. It hasn't as a player. We will still sing your name loud and proud.
Yeah, that beat 100%. But I'm going to come to you with something in a second, Henry. Tim says, Ben is me right now. This one stings. I know he needs to go, but I love Ollie so much. Zayad says he was the most back manager and delivered no silverware. Dan says Ollie's major downfall was too much blind loyalty to some players and not loyalty to others. He's done an amazing job, but sadly it's time. If he left 4 games ago, he could have held his head up high. And Vip Hour says people saying this is worse than Jose's last day clearly have a terrible memory. Ollie's got the soul of this club brought back from the romance of football in our lives, which I 100% agree with. quick one for you, Henry, because we've got to jump out soon. I just want to quickly ask you about what Benny's just said there in terms of Ollie's overall, so to speak. What's the word that I'm looking for? His overall impact that he's had within the club. Could you, so for the next, or where we move forward, is that a concern for you? Because ultimately, where we go next could be maybe, I think you said it, or Serge, let's stay away from ex-players. Let's stay away from United men, maybe.
Yeah.
Does that potentially concern you that we're losing that sort of backbone at this moment in time?
To be honest, this whole long-term thing, this whole idea of having a long-term manager now and having a backbone in place for many years, it's not going to happen anymore. It doesn't happen in football anymore. The only exception currently might be
bending like that.
Yeah, fair enough. No, the only exception might be Guardiola at the moment. But other than that, longevity isn't a thing in managers in football anymore. It's winning. That's the most important thing. And because everyone's got so much money, it's a case of not building a project anymore. If you're a big club, it's a case of bringing in top players and winning trophies. That's the most important thing. And I know people might disagree, but that is genuinely the way football goes now, because it's a business. It's not about loyalty anymore. It hasn't been for probably 10 years now. There are problems. There are problems with. Don't get me wrong, Ollie's done a great job with the backbone of the squad, but I think when the players stop playing for you, they'll know towards the end of that game, they'll know what's going to happen afterwards. They'll have a pretty good idea that he's not going to be in charge for the next game, and it is a shame, but it's the right decision, because I would have feared if we went into the Villarreal game having lost this as heavily as we did. Imagine going to the Villarreal game. I know they're not in great form. I think they're 12th in their league. But imagine going into that game, needing a win, having just lost 4-1 to Watford.
I think we've lost anyway, though, Henry.
Yeah,
I generally think we've lost now already, because we don't have a manager, and we know how this board reacts. They react painfully slow to absolutely everything, and we'll all agree that he should have gone 2 weeks ago. I weren't screaming for his name to go out, but I think we all should have. It should have happened straight after City, and it gave the board 10 days to find a replacement within a few days, and then that coach then has 6-7 days to work with the players. But for people that say, "Oh, I was scared," like you mentioned that you were scared to go to Villarreal, I'm terrified. We're going to lose, because we've got now. I'm seeing a lot of people tweet, "Oh, why Phelan's gone, but why is Fletcher and Carrick still there and McKenna?" Well, okay, who do you want to coach then? So
no,
who's going to come in and coach then? Because
I get what you're saying.
Those two are going to come in. I know Fletcher and Carrick. Look, I know Ollie and Phelan. They didn't really run the coaching. They've openly admitted that. That's fine. But you're not going to see a great deal of improvement under Fletcher and Carrick, because they were the ones that were dealing with the training in the first place. Now, we don't know what we're going to get now at Villarreal, unfortunately, because we don't have a manager. The whole squad is unsettled. The whole club is unsettled now, because we don't know how quick the board are going to react. And more importantly, a good board would sack Solskjaer, but already have the replacement. Now, we don't know as fans. We just don't know. We only look at reports that Romano say and all these reports that come out now. They could actually have a replacement. They could have, I don't know, Zidane, or they might go for Ten Hag and buy him out, or whoever. But we'll only know that tomorrow. And if they don't have a replacement for tomorrow, it's likely they won't get him in for Monday, which essentially means Tuesday 5:45 kickoff. We're going to go in with Fletcher and Carrick. And I just don't think we're going to win that game.
I don't think
we're going to win it.
I don't think we'll win. I think you're right. I don't think we'll win. I think there's going to be
we'll lose. We'll probably. I don't even think we'll get a point.
In Spain, it's difficult anyway. It's going to be a difficult game, regardless of Solskjaer or whoever's in charge. It's going to be a difficult game. But I think there might be a little bit more structure in the side, because it became chaotic with Solskjaer in charge, and it became a sort of free for all where and mention Harry Maguire very briefly because his performances have been disgusting recently. And put your fingers in your ears against Albania once you've scored a goal, and then go and get sent off for your club.
I think also that as much as I didn't watch the games, the game today.
It was bad.
But exactly, and some I always do go back to the same statement which Roy Keane made, which was, and everyone knows this, which is lepers don't change their spots, and you've got to look at those same players. Now, Maguire weren't there when he said that. I think he was aiming it at a few players, like I think Pogba, to be honest. But again, he hasn't been playing for about 3 games.
It's great that we cannot blame him.
But I can't blame him. Yeah, exactly. So, look, for me, I don't think we're going to see a big improvement at Villarreal, not in this short space of time. The board should have reacted weeks ago. I think personally, for me, my game was Liverpool. I think they should have reacted after that. But look, I'm not. I've never been a fan to say get the manager out and scream and shout and let it all out.
I
just quoted a song, but
I'll equate this quickly. For
go on,
people. We've got business people in charge of a football club essentially. Imagine having a director of football in charge of Apple. That's essentially what you've got. You've got people that know nothing about the game that are in charge of making decisions about the most important football club in the world. And if you put, Monchi, the Sevilla guy, if you put him in charge of Apple for a day, it would fold. And that's what's happening with United. It's falling apart. And Ben mentioned about the backbone of the squad. There isn't a backbone at the moment. I don't see a consistent spine of the team where I look and I think, okay, I know who's going to dig me out of these games. Maybe De Gea at the moment, that's it. I don't look and think, okay, there's 3 or 4 players that will step up in this Villarreal game and will make a difference and will be the ones that are going to be the senior players that are going to take charge and say, no, this is how we're going to do this. This is how we're going to control the game and we're going to make sure that we're tight at the back. And, I don't see that. I just see inexperience and naivety. And, it's a problem.
And that's also why, by the way, like I sort of don't know where we go next. Because ultimately, the one man, as much as I didn't want him as Manchester United manager, really, who solves that issue on day one is Conte. Like, he solved that issue on day one. I don't think he's the future or he was the answer, but he solves that problem on day one.
Sorry, Ben, just quickly, but the next appointment is, and I know we didn't want to talk about the next manager, but the next appointment is really, really important. And I think this is probably the most, and we say this all the time, but it's probably the most important manager right now, because we can all agree that after Sir Alex Ferguson, this is the best squad after that 2012-13 squad that season. Now, the next appointment needs to come in, put in his style of play in 3, 4, 5 days, because games come quick in the Premier League, especially with all the cup games.
Around the Christmas
and
period.
Then, point there as well, around the Christmas period, he's got to come in and instantly be effective and then go out on this huge. And I still believe that with the right appointment, we can still do wonders in this league and possibly in the Champions League. Chelsea did it, and look at them in the league now. They appointed the right person. They got rid of Lampard, who, again, the sentiment value, and they got rid of him, and some fans didn't like him and they wanted Roman Abramovich out, whatever. But now they don't mind, because Tuchel's won the Champions League and he's top of the league by 3 or 4 points, whatever it is. So the next appointment is really, really important. Really important.
Needs to be the right appointment. That's the issue. And I think Tim's trying to make that point here in terms of United make a play for Michael Edwards, get a competent director of football in place and get some structure. Look, at least the one argument that John Murtough and Darren Fletcher might have is that Ole weren't their man, so to speak. They didn't employ Ole. Ole wasn't, so to speak, the manager that came in because of the play from the director of football team. But what we've got to hope is that, well, okay, John Murtough, you've been given this responsibility to be the director of football. Well, this appointment has to be with you. Like, and this appointment's on you. This appointment's not on the chief exec anymore. It's not on Woodward. It's not on Richard Arnold.
Yeah.
It's not on these money people that you all just spoke about. If this club is functioning right and we're using a director of football properly, this next appointment has to be in line with the future of the football club, and that decision needs to be made by the director of football, the footballing team. And then let's judge John Murtough and if we need Van der Sar, if we need Michael Edwards, maybe. But I get your point, Tim, like 100%. Like, I don't believe in our club we have the right footballing people to make the right appointment next. That's the issue.
We said before though that long-term managers, they just don't really exist anymore.
Yeah, true.
And with this team, it's short-term success. And I know we're all a bit deprived of trophies, if we're being honest, in terms of the last few years. It's been tough. And I know it might sound elitist to a lot of fans that are of mid-table clubs, but it's expectation for Manchester United to win trophies. And long-term managers don't exist, but long-term structures do. And if you've got a long-term structure, the likelihood is you'll get the best managers in the cycle in charge of the club that are going to win the best trophies. Chelsea, Man City, Liverpool, all in that same boat. Klopp will leave in a couple of years. Guardiola will probably leave in a year. They'll have to get new managers, and they'll do it competently, and they'll get the right appointment. So we've got to get a manager who's going to take this squad from where it is now. It's a very good squad to winning championships, league titles, the best you can get, the best trophies on offer. And at the end of the day, it's for me, it's not about longevity anymore, because football is a business now. It's not a game of loyalty anymore. It's a game of who wins the most. And we're competing with the big boys. So if we go for a Brendan Rodgers, we're going to end up top 4 every year, and we're just going to have to accept mediocrity. And sorry, carry on. Go on.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And what I was going to say is exactly what you've just said. And the reason why I butted in them was because what you said there about football's no longer about longevity. Football's about the now. Maestro, that's exactly why Zidane doesn't take this United job, because I think he's as clued up about that as anyone else within modern day football. Like, he was in his perfect club, Real Madrid, but he knew where that team was going. And he went, nah, I'm out of this. I don't want this anymore. And he quit. Why would Zidane come into Manchester United right now? He has no need to.
He'd fall out with the higher ups pretty much straight away, I'm sure, because he has a very big personality, and there'll always be a personality clash with these owners because they want what they want, and then a manager wants what they want. Daniel Levy has always had personality clashes, but he's had to sacrifice. Well, his ass was on the line. He was probably gonna be gone if he didn't hire a big manager like Conte. So I think the Glazers are in the same boat now, though. They've tried and tested with the big managers. The only successful one that we've had, and I know we can argue about the rebuild and stuff with Solskjaer, the only successful one in terms of trophies has been Jose Mourinho. I know he's an abrasive character, but he won things with United. And at the end of the day, it's for the club, for the owners, and for the money. It's about winning with these guys. They want the biggest money, and you only get that by winning the big trophies.
On that though, Louis van Gaal also won the FA Cup, and maybe we pulled the trigger too soon on him.
Maybe, but he didn't get top 4.
Some people believe he could have won the league title the year after, but we pulled the trigger to get Mourinho in.
You look at their squads though. Imagine Mourinho with this squad. Like, I know he's an abrasive character. He would have won.
With the problem with that though, we didn't bring in Mourinho to win the Europa League and the League Cup. We brought in Mourinho to win the league and the Champions League.
Yeah.
And we talk about standards, and we talk about the standards of the club and this, that, and the other. We brought Mourinho in to win the 2 big ones. We didn't. He won trophies. He won the Europa League and the League Cup. But are we really, as Man United fans, and we're talking about standards, are we really going to go and say, he won the Europa League?
But no. On that, what you just said is completely spot on. He then finished second. He won a trophy, and then didn't get.
He won
back.
2 trophies. Yeah,
he won 2 trophies, and he didn't get back in the summer. He got absolutely shafted.
And there's only one common denominator, which is the board.
Well, 100%, and that's what we said, right?
Yeah, and will be, and like Serge said, it will be a never-ending cycle of, and we'll probably, they'll appoint someone. And in 12, maybe 18 months, we'll have the same conversation. Is it time for X manager to go? And then it will be Glazers out. And then it will get to the transfer window, Glazers out. Then it will focus on the manager. It will get to the summer window. We're not signing in the right targets, Glazers out. then it will be the manager again. It's just a never-ending cycle.
If they were smart businessmen, they would ship the board to London in the offices down there. Let them the business side of things. I'm not going to lie, and I know people dislike Ed Woodward and stuff. He has done a very, very good
He's
job.
made United a lot of money.
Side of things.
Yeah.
We're commercially the biggest club in the world in terms of the stature that we've got, and the biggest growing as well. We're still growing as a brand, and so that side of things. He's good at the business side of things, just not the football side of things. And they would save themselves so much money in terms of transfer fees and in terms of severance packages with managers if they got in a director of football and a couple of people around him to make the big footballing decisions at Old Trafford. And then we can have a kind of stable system as we go forward for the next 10 years. But again, they're not footballing people. So.
Boys, we've got to wrap this up because we've been on for well over an hour now, and it's been a long day, and I think we're all knackered. But just to recap, so this show, we're reacting to the fact that the board have made a decision, had a meeting at 7:00. Whispers came out what was happening within that meeting, but ultimately it's been decided that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to leave the club by mutual consent. The club are putting together an official announcement. Mike Phelan's going to be going with him. It's looking like a Carrick and Fletcher interim for the very least, just for the next few games. Rumours coming out about Laurent Blanc potentially on a longer interim basis, but we know how that went. He'll go on a run and then he'll end up permanent manager, and it's never a good fit. So again, everything's with a pinch of salt at the moment. Rumours again popping up online at the moment now about Zidane. Apparently he doesn't want the job, so who knows where we're going with that. And it brings me full circle, actually, Henry, what you're saying just a second ago. It looks like Ollie's payout $7.5 million as per the contract that he got. When was it? About 6-7 weeks ago, or like in the summer. So that's another big payout there. And look, Ollie, this is far deeper than 7.5 million that we've got to pay out Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but ultimately facts are facts, right? So we'll wait to see. When the announcement happens from the club, we'll reflect on Ollie. We'll reflect on his time properly. This show was just reaction to the news, really, and to bring you the latest news. So thank you for joining us. If you like the show, hit a thumbs up button. If you're watching back later on, just get in the comments, guys. How do you feel? That's my question. How do you feel right now, honestly? Get it in the comments. It's hard to hit a like. It's hard to ask for likes, but if you could do it, help our little channel grow. And if you could subscribe again, that would really help, because we're going to hold so many debates over the next week or so. And we've got 2 big games as well coming up. Villarreal, which is a must win, and then with Chelsea at the weekend. And I fucking hate losing to Chelsea. I can't stand it.
From London, I fucking hate them.
We'll be here. We'll be supporting the club through thick and thin. I think, as you guys said in the away end, Ben, at full time, we're united. We'll never die. We'll be back, and ultimately, Ollie will be back. His name would be sung from the rafters in midweek in that away end, and again at the weekend. Is a legend, and it's just disappointing. It's sad that it's gone this way, but football's a results business, and it's not been good enough. Just hasn't been good enough, and the inevitable is now happening. Guys, thank you for staying up with us. Really appreciate it. Keep supporting the channel. Benny, thank you so much for jumping on. You've had such a long day. Connor, you as well. Bainesy and Henry, thank you to you guys. Thank you, Serge. Thank you to Mark. As I said, we'll be back live again when the official announcement happens, and we'll be live tomorrow night with Uncut, with either more reaction, or we may even have a bit of a new managerial debate. Is it even too soon for that now? I don't know. I'm gone, to be honest. Speak to you guys in a bit. Stay safe and have a good night. Bye-bye.